So let's talk about marketing first. I mean, I can go on forever about marketing. I think that there are a million angles. A lot of people don't understand that advertising and marketing are two different things. Marketing is about getting the product out and the information out. Advertising generally is about buying a space for time on the radio and/or magazine ad. I would say that the first steps in marketing are always the trial and error steps, and that is to find the cheapest, most effective way to get out in your local area. Let's talk about fashion. Are there local fashion shows that you can provide product to and get, a feel for if people like the product? Are there local celebrities, people who are city councilmen or talent shows or things of that nature where you can provide product to? Now let's talk about the YouTubes of the world. There are everyday stars being created with 1 million, 2 million, 10 million views. There are videos that you can film with your iPhone or Android or whatever the case is that you can kind of make that homegrown commercial with your product. And you know what? You can fail 10 times because at this point nobody knows you. But as you create it, and you start to see 10 views here, 100 views here, boom, 1 million views here, that's not expensive marketing. And these are the ways that you get to, again, start to create the DNA of your brand and see what works and not. You're gonna have a lot of trial and errors when it comes to marketing. I still do till today. Today, I don't know, should I go on TV? Should I go on radio? Should I have a plane fly by with text, so forth and so on to this thing and buy this? Should I create a bigger site? Now, here's the good thing about Shopify. The good thing about Shopify is the fact that you have to understand one thing. When people do see your brand or hear your brand, what do? They do this. Now, I've learned the hard way. One of my brands, we were so busy trying to get product out in the e-commerce world that before there was a Shopify, we basically shot the pictures of the product and just did e-commerce because we're thinking we're supplying to people who want to buy the product and all they want to see is these flat pictures and this site. But we didn't know that was actually counterproductive because some people who are not looking to buy the product are just Googling the name. And when they Google the name and they come on and they see basically a bare bones site that maybe doesn't fit to the standards of all the beautiful sites they see, all the great marketing I did to express that it was a certain luxury brand the wind was just taken out of it because I had poor representation. And I learned that the hard way. So you look at things like a Shopify that's fairly easy. It takes the job and the hard work out of you having to be this great e-commerce web developer out, and those are simple ways to market. Before you do any public marketing, it's always going to be a Shopify, your packaging, the things that are really about the product first. And so those are my tips for marketing. And then as you see you're successful in these areas, you can grow. You can start hiring great actors for those YouTube commercials. You can start going to bigger fashion shows, and then maybe you go to a magic trade show or those big shows. And as you're growing, you're learning, and as you're learning, you're growing. And it's a constant, it's a constant struggle and battle, but it's exciting. So the first magic show that I went to, my partners and I, we didn't have any money to get out to the show. So my mother worked at American Airlines, so we got a bunch of buddy passes. And the show was being held at the convention center, as it always is. We didn't have enough money to be in the convention center, so we had to stay about 5 miles away in the Mirage Hotel. Prior to going to the show, though, I had already built a little bit of a vacuum was being built up in the, in the world of FUBU, because we had taken these 10 shirts and put them on videos for 2-3 years, and people thought that FUBU was a fairly large brand. I remember taking a picture of LL, who was a friend of mine, and I sent that picture to every single store that I could find in Right On Magazine, Word Up Magazine, newspapers, and every store that was selling Nike or sportswear or anything of that nature. And I sent the picture to all the stores and said, we will be at the magic show, and we will be at this hotel. When I got to the magic show, I walked around the show also and handed out a copy of that picture and that flyer. And believe it or not, I had done so much of that grassroots marketing that people came over to that Mirage Hotel. They came over to that little room that we had, and I wrote $300,000 in orders. And that was, you know, back around 95, 96. I never saw that much money in my life. But the bottom line was that I had already had a market that was hungry for the product because I tested it on the local side. I tested on the national side. I already had perfected my business. I had 50 designs I went through till I got to those 10 designs, and I realized that people didn't like 40 of those designs. So when I got to that show, it was already a vacuum built. It was already the best product that I can ever have, and I was ready to do business.